PALS TV, everybody. Well, we had a lot of fun this morning doing some of our virtual tours down in Steubenville. Next, we'll be heading over to Gallia County and joining both David and Rankin in Southern Ohio to continue our Ceramics with Rankin segment. Rankin taught us a lot already last week about the basics and what you need to know to get started in understanding the ceramics process. Very interesting, and I love the way that he's been able to connect with all of us. This week we're going to kind of continue off of that and build off of that learning we already went through from last week, and continue to make some fascinating, beautiful pieces down there in Gallia County. Again, if there's anything that you personally would like to see us make, and if we are able to make it, we'd love to do that. So maybe add it into the chat box, or even send us an email if you'd like. But either way, we'd love to hear your thoughts and what you'd like to maybe see person. So without further ado, we're going to be heading down to Gallipolis and joining Rankin and Dave down in Gallia County. So thanks, guys, again for joining us.
Thank you. Hello, everybody from Gallia County. Wave at me if you can hear me. Big wave, big thumbs up. Okay. So I hope everybody's enjoying the sunshine we've got today. I know it's been rainy this weekend. For those who were with us last week, we're going to pick up on the second step of working with ceramics and making ceramic pieces. Who was with us last week? Give me a hands up if you were with us last week. Okay, so for those who weren't, we were talking about when you go to a store and you pick up a piece of ceramic artware on a shelf, it usually looks like something like this. It's painted, it's shiny, looks really nice and pretty. Okay, well, what we went over last week was we kind of showed the process of how to actually make those pieces there. So what we did is we started from what's called ceramic slip, which comes in a liquid form. And so what you do is you take that liquid form ceramic slip and you pour it into a mold. And so we poured a couple of molds last week, if you remember. So we had a unicorn that we poured a frog, and what else did we pour right there? A pig, piggy bank. So those were the three items we wanted to create with this series. So we poured the mold last week, got everything ready, cleaned up, and then we're picking up where we started last week, which is the molds have been poured. Your ceramic pieces have kind of dried up enough to where we can take the molds apart and pull our ceramic pieces out and work with them. So before we do that, though, we're going to kind of cover a few items that you're going to need to work with. So when you work with the ceramics and you pull them out of the molds, you're going to have certain things, certain tools. So what we'll do is, first thing that we use is a sponge. See that? Just a basic sponge you can go pick up at Hobby Lobby, Walmart, grocery store. All it is just a basic sponge. This one's a little bit of a specialty sponge because it's made specifically for ceramics and crafts, so it's kind of round and fancy. But you can also get by with any kind of sponge. You guys ever use these kind of sponges to clean your dishes? It's soft on one side and the other side's kind of like a Brillo pad. Well, these are perfect too to use. Then also you have some wooden tools that you use to craft your pieces and clean them up. So the first,
you got some modeling tools.
Modeling tools, Rankin's got my notes. So the modeling tools are ones you pull out, and they've got different shapes and angles. So this, see right there, see that angle right there? It's for kind of cleaning corners in a ceramic piece. Kind of like a little wooden spatula. You have something like that, kind of looks like a little knife. Then there's a little sharper edger right there, kind of like the first one we had, but it's a little bit sharper for smaller corners. You got one here, looks like a big toothpick. See that? That's for cleaning out holes. And then you have a little bit of a scraper here. It's got teeth on it. That's for putting edges on your piece. Okay. So after the modeling tools, we have what's called What is it?
Ribbon cutters. Them are for basically people that turn pottery on wheels.
Okay.
It puts designs in the clay.
Right. So these ribbon cutters, if you're working with, if you want to put a design in your piece there, you see that? It's a little metal wire. You kind of scoop with it. Same with this here. If you want to get a little bit bigger scoop there. And you have like another little pick there for holes. And then a sharp little scraper there. We'll show you what to do with this one later. Then we have another one. Okay. See that? That's for the bigger pieces. And then you have like a little drill, has a little drill bit on it there. That's for drilling holes in your pieces. See it? You guys see the teeth on the little piece there when I turn it? The flutes. That's for sticking in your ceramic piece and drilling down in. And then here's another version right here. Okay, after that, then we have our ribs and scrapers. You remember last week? Do you guys remember that was with us last week? Remember that big shiny silver thing we had? We kind of cut that one piece up with. That's your scraper right there. Remember how he scraped the mold with it and cleaned off the excess slip? And then you have a wooden version. Okay, and then we have a, what's this called? A
Fettling
tool.
Yeah, that's for cutting.
Like the creases.
Yeah.
And then we have a fettling tool here. It's pretty much what this is a knife. It's got just a little bit of an edge on it. And that's for taking and shaving off the sides and the seams on your ceramic pieces. So that's your tools you work with. Who wants to see us take a piece, one of the pieces we poured out of the mold, see what they look like? Who's interested? Okay, all right. So Rankin's going to pull out the, what's that one here? The pig. So bring it over here, Rankin.
Pig first.
So this is our piggy bank we poured. What he's doing, he's taking off, remember he's taking off the rubber bands we put on there. Remember those that held it together? He's taking those off. You do it about right here so they can see.
Okay. And if you look, I usually try to use the shallow end to take them off. They come apart easier that way. Ta-da!
Everybody see that? Remember how that was liquid last week? Now you kind of see the half part of the pig, right? Okay. So then what he's going to do is gently take and lift this up and get the entire piece out.
And you got to be careful when you take them out or you'll leave fingerprints on them. And they're still soft when you take them out of the mold. So you got to be real careful.
Look at that. You guys remember last week that was liquid, wasn't it? Now you've got the beginning of a piggy bank. Isn't that neat? Okay, now if you look though, what do you see, guys? What do you guys see right there? Seams? That's where your two molds come together. They leave a little bit of a seam right there. Also, there's a little bit of excess. See that thing right there? We're going to have to cut that off. So when you first take it out of your mold, it's very soft. Like if I'm not careful, I drop this thing, it's going to flatten it. Or I could just break it up like that if I wanted to. So what we would do is take your little knife here. You want to trim off all the big excess pieces. See this right here? So what we're going to do is very gently, you're going to set your mold down. Everybody see that pretty good? Okay. And just gently, I need something a little bit sharper here. Doesn't work with that. Need something just a little bit sharper. You're just going to follow the outline. You got to just take your time, be really patient. It's better to be patient with these than to break it and have to start over, right? You know, they don't say impatience is a virtue. Okay, so look at that. That little piece came off. So that's your excess piece to your greenware. So remember last week we talked about before you put this in the kiln to bake it, you could still reuse it. So what we'll do is just we'll collect this excess stuff here, put it back into that bucket, add water to it, use it again. Okay, so now does that look more like a piggy bank now? Okay, then what we want to do is we just kind of want to go around the edges here and just gently clean where we just cut. We don't want to work on it too much right now. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Still got some seams there we're going to have to work on, but you can see now it's pretty much set up to where we can set it on the shelf and let it dry out for a couple of days. You drill this now or?
Yeah,
okay.
It's wet.
Okay, so clean this bottom seam off, and Rankin's going to show you another trick we do with the piggy bank. You guys know that there's two kinds of piggy banks out there. There's ones that you put money in, and it doesn't have any extra holes to get your money out when you want to use it. So what do? Hey, Pat Dillon, how are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, it's good to see you. Everybody wave at Pat. I'm going to mute you real quick, Pat, just because if I don't, there'll be an echo.
Okay.
Okay, so there's two kinds of piggy banks in this world, right? There's one that you put money in and there's no hole to get it out every other week or so when you want to pop or something. So you're kind of committed and stuck to put it in there. You can't get it out. So how do you get it out when you're done filling it up? You have to buy a stick.
Hammer.
Right. Then there's the other piggy bank I like better because you can just sneak money out every once in a while, and they have a hole in the bottom of them, right? But does this have a hole in it? There's no hole, so we're going to have to, you guys see there's no hole. So we're going to have to put a hole here so when we're done with it, we can get that money out and then put a plug back in it. So what we'll do is you hold it upside down, and guess what you guys are going to have to use to put a hole in the piggy bank? Show them, Rankin.
Nice one in the corner.
Real. Okay, so you want me to hold it for you?
I'll hold it.
Okay, I'm gonna let him take over.
That way I don't poke you in the hand.
All right, and he's gonna show you.
Gotta hold it. Can they see it?
Yeah.
Okay. Put it right here. You gotta do it while it's wet or it'll break.
So you have to. Go ahead.
Okay. It watered out. That's fine. They got the basic steps.
Oh yeah. So now you have a hole in your piggy bank. So what we'll do is we'll clean this up later. Okay. And they all don't have to have holes. If you want to have one that you just break at the end when you're done, that's fine. You can do it that way too. Let's see here. Okay, so what do you guys think? You ever get piggy bank at the store, pick it up and look at it, in the bottom there's a rubber plug there. So what we do is we get rubber plugs after these dry and we put rubber plugs in there. Okay, so now we got our piggy bank pulled out. We got it set up and ready to dry for a couple of days. So the next one would be, do you guys want to see the frog come out of the mold now? Raise your hand. Wave at me. Okay, all right. Rankin's going to pull the frog out. We'll see what it looks like, see if it turned out all right.
And they don't always turn out all right.
Remember, we talked last week, sometimes these things come out of the mold and they're all messed up. So we'll keep our fingers crossed. You guys remember wait a minute, I got a test for you that tuned in last week. What does Rankin do after he pours to make sure that there's no bubbles, no holes? Does he take the mold and drop it? No? Okay, okay. Or does he take and tap it on the table a little bit? Taps it on the table, all right, you got it, okay. All right, so here comes the frog. Let's see how it turned out.
Always turn them over on their sides, because if you open them up while they're standing up.
Oh, so far, guys, it's looking pretty good. See that? Look at that, it looks really good from the front, doesn't it? All right, let's see what this turned out to look like in the back now. Fingers crossed.
If he'll come out. There he
The
comes.
frog's being stubborn today. Fingers crossed, guys.
There it comes.
And, oh, wow. Look at that. Looks good in the front, doesn't it? Okay, then I'm going to turn him around. Look at the back side. Wow. Turned out pretty good, didn't it? See, if you remember, if Rankin wouldn't have tapped that on the table and kind of tapped on the mold, it would have had bubbles and holes all over it. So, thanks. Okay, now, is there something on this frog that you guys think we need to trim off? Something on the bottom? Okay. Kind of the same as the piggy bank. We got a little excess right here at the bottom, so we take our little knife, cut along the seam. Okay, remember, excess piece there, what do? We throw it in the slit bucket, and reuse that again. We can put water in with that and reuse it again. Okay, what do you think? Does it look like he's ready to set up and dry for a couple of days? And we'll start working on him. Okay. Turned out pretty good. Okay. Then we had the unicorn. Remember the unicorn we talked about last week we poured? You guys ready for that one? Okay. Rankin's going to bring it over and open it up for us, see what turned out.
Oh.
You want to be careful. be careful you don't get shot in the face with a rubber band.
Or they break while you're putting them on the mold, because that hurt. Small end on top.
Okay, remember, lay it flat.
Oh, this one sounds like it's ready.
Uh-oh, wow. Okay, what do you guys think? Does that look pretty good on the front end? I don't see any bubbles or holes or cracks or anything, so that looks like that might end up being a good piece there. Now let's see if we can get it out of the other side. Rankin, do your magic there.
It won't come right out.
Oh, look at that.
That one was easy.
And there you go. You guys got your unicorn. See the horn up there?
That's the hardest part about it.
That's the hardest part there because that's the thinnest part of your mold. That's usually where these things go from being unicorns to ponies here. Okay, you see all the detail on it? Okay, now you notice there's a couple extra pieces we got to get cut off there, right? Okay, so we'll go back, we'll take our little knife. Oh. Okay, does that look more like a unicorn now? What do you guys think? Yep, okay. So now this one's ready to go sit on the shelf for a couple of days. Okay, so after, let me move you back over here. So after these pieces sit on the shelf for a couple of days, they're ready to work with. If we try to work with these pieces as soon as they come out of the mold, if you touch them too much, you're going to get a bunch of fingerprints all over them. You're going to squeeze them. You might squish them. You could drop them, flatten them out. And if you touch them too hard, you'll break them. So what we're going to do is we put those pieces on the mold or on the shelf for a couple of days so they become harder. Now, you remember we talked last week about the difference between greenware and bisque. Remember, the greenware is the piece that we just did after it's dried out. And then you have your, this is after it goes into a kiln. It's called bisque. You see the difference? This you can work with, this you cannot. But what we did through the magic of our PALS TV here is we went ahead and did a couple other pieces that have already dried up enough so we can work with them today. So same pieces, just poured a couple days ago, so these are dried out. Remember the pig? We didn't put a hole in the bottom of that one.
I forgot.
That's all right. Unicorn and the frog. So now we're ready to start working with our greenware. So we went from last week pouring the mold, preparing the mold. This week we went from pulling the pieces out of your mold and setting them up and trimming them. And now we're going to work with what? Greenware, which is the piece before it goes into the kiln. So we'll start with the pig. Now, when you work with the greenware, here's a couple of things you guys want to keep in mind. Sometimes the greenware, people don't like, it kind of feels chalky after you've touched it a lot. So some people like to wear the rubber masks or the rubber gloves when they're working on the greenware. It keeps it from getting in your fingernails and then down the skin. It's hard to wash off. I don't care. My hands get dirty all the time. If you're working with a lot of pieces and you got a lot of dust flying, because when these dry out and you start working on them, dust will start flying up a little bit. We're fine today because we just have one or two pieces and I've got a door open here. You want to make sure you leave your room well ventilated. Sometimes put a fan in the window or the door to kind of suck the air out. And sometimes you might want to wear a little mask. You guys have been seeing a lot of these around lately, haven't you? So you would put on this is a dust mask, so this is not what people are wearing to the stores right now, but this keeps that chalky dust from flying back up in your nose. So if you remember last week, once that stuff gets wet, it sits up like concrete. And so you don't want that stuff going up in your nose and your nostrils and then getting really hard. Okay, so well, also sometimes people will use water to work with your greenware. Because remember, if I throw this back in the bucket of water, I'll come back the next day and it's going to be just ceramic slip like it was last week. So we're going to work on taking our seams. Remember how we have the seams on our pieces after we took them out? So we're going to work on getting rid of those. Have you ever went to the store and bought something, a ceramic piece that has a seam on it? No, because what they do is they work it down. So nobody wants to buy a pig that's got like a little line all the way around it, do you? Nobody wants to do that. So. Hey, Harold. All right, so a couple of ways we can do that is you can take your little knife we used earlier. Remember we talked about our knives, and we can clean it off a little bit. And pretty much it's kind of like whittling, really. Try to get you a good angle here. Okay, there we go. See how I'm just kind of like whittling that down? That seam off the pig. And you gotta be careful, you don't want to push too hard because you could still break, it's still fragile. But you just scrape it. Here I'm scraping it. Anybody ever spent time sitting on the front porch whittling sticks, making something with a stick, a knife? Well, it's pretty much the same thing. You just kind of got to whittle on it. It's great, but look at all that dust. And then I'll move over here to the back leg. Okay, now see how that's getting a little bit smoother on the back leg and the belly? Let me get the front leg. Okay, and then I'm gonna get it, come up around here around his neck and his nose and his chin. Okay, then I'm gonna get that line on his nose. Okay, and then I'm gonna come around the bridge of his nose and come up his head. I'm gonna come up his forehead there. Okay, then we'll come back around. There's his tail. See the tail? Backside there. Okay, we'll clean up a little bit more on the tail. And then the backside. And I'm all the way right back around on his back feet where we started. Okay, now, so I've got most of the seam off of it, the line. So what we do, this is where your sponge comes in handy. Put your sponge in there. You don't want a lot of water on that. You just want a damp, moist sponge, okay? And then what you want to do is come around and just kind of clean up all the excess dust. Oops. Clean his nose up. Back end. tail. All right, come back, clean the bottom of his feet, his belly. Front feet. And his chin and his neck. Okay, now let this sit for just a second. You guys see it pretty good now. Let me get over here. Okay, now it's cleaned up now. I'll show you the difference now. Remember this one here had the seam all over it? See that in the front and the back, that little line? Oh, see that? No line, is there? Now that looks like almost a professional piece, a professional piggy bank, doesn't it? No lines, nice and smooth and clean. That's the kind of stuff you want to find on the store shelf, isn't it? Okay, so now we'll have Rankin's going to start working on the frog here for a couple of minutes. This one here?
Yes.
Okay, so the frog has got a little more detail, so we'll have to get a different sponge, got some edges on there so you can get down in the corners.
First thing I'd like to do, work on the bottom. Take your dry sponge or your Brillo pad.
So he's kind of using that Brillo part kind of like sandpaper. He's not putting any water on it yet. So he's kind of smoothing it like sandpaper.
There. Nice smooth edges. Yep. If you don't watch, you'll have uneven parts.
So when he cleans the bottom part, he's making sure it's all flat. That way when it sits on the shelf in the store, it's not falling over or it's not crooked. So he's sitting flat on there.
And you got to be careful. If you squeeze too hard, they will break. I'm gonna take the S, I'm gonna do curves, this little knife. Knock a little bit of that off there, or most of it. There we go, left. You gotta be careful. Especially in these small spaces. And it needs a little more right here. Get most of it off.
So Rankin, have you ever been carving on a piece and you broke it?
Oh, yes.
So what do you do after you break it?
Recycle.
Just throw it back in the bucket.
Yes. As long as it ain't been in the county. Which day? If it breaks, it breaks. Nothing you can do about it.
Right. You can always put add water to it and pour it back in the mold and pull it out again next day.
And here's the hard part. Right around these feet.
Why don't we get a bit closer?
This is the hard part on the frog, his toes. Because if you scrape too much, they're going to break right off. And you got to be careful when you got little protrusions like that. That little mold line. It's hard to get off there. I think I got it.
Yeah. Get it?
I think so. Right here around these eyes. Okay. Other side of his feet. The smaller the piece, the easier it is to break. Yeah, still got more to do here. I use this little thing because you can get right in there between these lines. But you can't put much pressure on it.
Okay, so remember we talked about how you have all these different little, looks like dentist tools. All these little things here. Well, who always ever went to the dentist and he pulls stuff out, it looks like that? Well, it's because all your teeth are different little angles and holes and grooves. So that's the same thing. Same thing with this ceramic piece here. You notice like the frog's ears right there. Are you going to be able to get down in his ears with something like a big knife like that? Or is it better to have something small? So that's why you have so many different wild looking little tools here, because there's so many pieces. Ow! And be careful, you can stab yourself.
Done that several times.
There's just so many pieces with so many different angles that you have to have a large array of tools to work with. Because if you take the wrong tool to it, you end up, what, breaking it?
Or you could do like this done. Come apart.
Or it comes apart. So pretty much got the frog cleaned up. So what do? We take our sponge, remember, and we just go around and clean up the dust and wipe the lines, your seam lines off all these other sections here. Now you guys, now that you kind of know the secret of how to get the lines off here, I want you, next time you go to the store and you go somewhere where they're selling ceramics, I want you to pick that piece up and hold it up in the light and look and see if you can find seam lines. If you can find seam line, if you can't find seam lines, that's a really good piece. But if you can, it kind of shows what's going on with whoever made that piece. So what's starting to look like a frog now, isn't it? Okay, let me show you the difference between this one and the other one. So now, can you guys see the difference? See that line down the other frog, this one here, all the way around it? That's the seam line. You don't see it on this one. Can't find it, can we? So that's a pretty good piece there. We got about 6 more minutes. So tell you what we'll do is we'll open this up. Anybody got any questions or anything? Let me, Jen, are you able to unmute people now if they raise their hand? Okay. All right. So anybody got any questions or anything you want to talk about ceramics real quick? We got about 6 minutes. I see Pat has got her hand raised.
I just wondered, do you paint those there?
Yeah, we paint them here. We have where we are right now is a ceramics department. And so we have about 250 to 300 molds. We have 2 kilns. We have a pour section. We have a section where we work the pieces. And we also have a kiln section where we kiln the pieces. And we either paint them or glaze them, yeah.
Do you sell them? Do you sell them?
You want to buy one?
Depends.
we
Anything special you want?
Yeah, we can sell those. We're eventually we'd like to move into our own ceramics business. And
yeah, that's what I was wondering, if you would have a display or something where people could come and pick out what they want.
That is a goal. That is one of our goals. Yes.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's good.
And if you tune in next week, we're going to actually go over how to the kiln process. We'll do a tour of our ceramics department, and then we'll actually do some more cleaning and show how to clean molds. And then the week after that, I believe we're going to actually paint the piece and glaze it. So we'll go over that. But yeah, We do everything from raw material to finished product. Anybody else have a wait a minute?
Behind you, did everything break before? Ceramics behind you?
Yes, the mold's behind us.
Yeah, did it break before?
We had, there's been occasions someone has been carrying a mold and dropped it and broke it.
Yeah, they will break real
And
good.
it's gone forever.
Or if it gets scratched when you're cleaning.
You buy a new one?
Yeah, you can buy new ones. A lot of times people they'll get into ceramics and they'll buy hundreds of molds and they'll sit in a garage for a couple of years, and then someone will tell them they need to get the molds out of the basement of the garage, and you can get on Facebook or online somewhere and you can always find really good deals on molds. Sometimes people just donate the molds. So
You can find them on Amazon?
yeah, I think Amazon's got them. Duncan Ceramics. Google ceramic mold and it'll take you all kinds of different places. You can buy specialty molds. I can't think of a mold that you can't buy. If you can think of it, I think they've got it made.
Now, we have sold some at the Happy Pot, correct, Dave?
We actually have products in a store in Portsmouth, Ohio. It's a really neat local owner that has put a store in Portsmouth downtown, and what they do is they have the bisque pieces that are pieces that's already been cooked in the kiln, and you go to that store and you actually buy this and you paint it there, and then they put it in the kiln for you. So yeah, we actually have our own display shelf there.
Right, and then we also did ceramic parties too, correct? We do
In our facility, we actually hosted a ceramic party where we will get back into that eventually in the near future, but you'll be able to come in to our location at Silverbridge, Pat, by the way. Pat's from Gallia, so, and if you want to do like a birthday party for kids, grandkids, nephews, nieces, you can rent a location and we'll actually supply you with ceramic pieces and the paint, and then we will take care of using them for you, and then we will send them to you, or you come pick them up when you're done. So yeah, we've actually kind of stepped in that a little bit. Anybody else have a question? Think you want to talk about ceramics?
Hey, nice shirt. Okay.
Well, I think it was another terrific segment, guys. Rankin, Dave, always a pleasure. We love traveling down to Gallipolis and doing ceramics with Rankin. Learn a lot each week, and I think we just build off of it, and that's the beauty of this segment. There's just so much to learn, and anything that you would like to learn specifically, please let us know. Please don't hesitate to ask. That's part of what this is all about, is our way of connecting with you and trying to give you as much as we possibly can. So thanks again, guys. Always a pleasure.
Hey, Pat, tell Henry I said hi. I think I called him Harold. Tell him. I got distracted. Henry. Where's he at?
Hi, Henry.
Have a good day.
Thanks, Pat. Caitlin, thank you for the questions. Always appreciate those. And we'll be taking a short break and coming back at the top of the hour to break up our day. Been doing some education this morning, and we're going to have some fun this afternoon and play some games over in Harrison County. So join us back here for your lunchtime hour around noon, live from Caddis. See everyone soon.